everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling's Genesis pay-per-view for 2013, their first pay-per-view of the year. Overall, I felt that the pay-per-view was, outside of a couple of pretty good gems of matches, overall didn't really feel like it was fitting of their model of pay-per-view, what they're going for now, which is the 4 major pay-per-views of the year. You didn't get a lot of, outside of a couple areas, you didn't get really a lot of story completion, the stories being complete ending, outside of maybe the world title situation with Jeff Hardy, Bobby Roode, and Austin Aries there. You kind of got a completion there between them, maybe a feud coming up with Bobby Roode and Austin Aries leading into Lockdown, but overall there wasn't really a lot of answering finishing of storylines. Also some very interesting choices that they decided to go with as well. First of all, it looks like they are finally beginning to break up Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan, which is probably better off for Matt Morgan in general. He seems to be going into a bigger situation, and he doesn't really need Joey Ryan around there. So I don't see them actually putting the tag team titles on him, and probably pretty much breaking them up here soon. The Samoa Joe, Mr. Anderson match was a fine match as well. The only difference is that that match was used for more of continuations of seeing whether or not Mr. Anderson was going to be in Aces and Eights. Is he not going to be in Aces and Eights? Of course, Anderson picks up the victory with a distraction by the Aces and Eights member Knox, and overall that match wasn't too bad either. So in those terms, so far the pay-per-view's not been too terribly bad. The match with Kenny King and Christian York was a very good match as well. Good back and forth. I do feel that I did feel that they would probably end up going with Kenny King here, considering they've had more of a rivalry with him and RVD as of late. But they decided to go with Christian York in there, and then of course they played the aspect of Christian York potentially coming back from behind because he got knocked out before RVD came out there by Kenny King after the match. And both of those matches, it came off as fairly good. The only problem that I see with Christian York is that at this point, he's just really a wrestler. He doesn't really have any extra depth to him at this point. Hopefully, they will create some depth with him here in the future, but in all honesty, at this point, he just feels like another wrestler in there, and somebody who will be eventually shoved to the away side at some point in time. Hopefully, that's not the case, because he's a fine performer in the ring, and hopefully they can add some extra depth to him that would continually keep people interested in what Christian York is at this point in time. The Doc Joseph Parks match, honestly, it went too long. It went way too long. I'm kind of getting tired of seeing the whole transformation into a different person with Joseph Parks getting in the ring when he sees his own blood. It's kind of getting to the point with Joseph Parks that they kind of need to maybe either end it in Joseph Parks or have him turn back into the Monster Abyss, or even maybe him continuing his investigation and trying to find his brother Chris or Abyss in this case. But all in all, I think the Joseph Park thing is kind of running its course. It's been going on for quite some time. Hopefully it does come to an end at some point in time, and they kind of just bring him back into the monster role. The TNA Knockouts Gauntlet match for the #1 contendership. Overall, wasn't a horrible match. It wasn't all that great. I think I think they did a good job of putting over Gail Kim, having her start from the beginning and going all the way to the end until she got beat by Velvet Sky. And even then, they can continually do something with how the match ended going into the Lockdown pay-per-view in a couple months here. But we'll see where they actually go with that storyline, or if they are going to go anywhere with that, or if it's just going to be Velvet Sky versus Tara at some point in time, or if it'll turn into some kind of triple threat or something. The Bully Ray Brooke Hogan segment honestly was pointless. It just put over the fact that they were going to have a wedding at the next Impact. I thought that was a pointless segment to the actual show itself, which most times is. Bully Ray segments aren't pointless, but this case it was. The James Storm Christopher Daniels match was a very good match as well. Nice to see that they decided to make it for a number one contendership for the world title. It was good to see that they actually gave it to Christopher Daniels, gave it to somebody different in this case. He's been working hard. Definitely deserves a chance to be at the top of the heap there, and he's been putting on really good matches, so that was good to see that they went that direction versus just giving it to James Storm in this case. The Sting Doc match, honestly, it really didn't come off all that great. I get the aspect of him going after Doc because Doc was the one who took him out and everything in that aspect. But honestly, with how things go with the Aces and Eights, you know, the higher ups should be going up against Sting and Kurt Angle in that sense. So that seems to be more of a spot for Devon versus a spot for Doc. And honestly, like I said, the match itself did not come off all that great to me, and it also seems completely weird with how they decide to use Aces and Eights at this point. It's kind of like, you know, they gain momentum, then they lose momentum, then they gain momentum, and they'll gain and lose momentum in the same night, because not only did they lose the match, they got chased off by Bully Ray right after the match as well. So honestly, that entire match kind of was almost a throwaway, which is very strange because usually Sting matches are not throwaway matches in any way, shape, or form, but this one was, at least in my mind. That brings me to the main event of the night, which was Jeff Hardy, Bobby Roode, Austin Aries for the title. Honestly, just great match. They built the story around it very well going into the pay-per-view, at least in my mind, with how Bobby Roode and Austin Aries were going to try to work together to eliminate Jeff Hardy, and basically showing how much tenacity, how much endurance that Jeff Hardy had throughout the match, kicking out at every situation, and eventually leading to the point that, you know, he's kind of down and out, but, you know, they can't put him away, that Bobby Roode and Austin Aries turn on each other and start actually fighting each other. I liked the psychology of how they did the match from the get-go. You know, Bobby Roode and Austin Aries were working together. They didn't stay completely in control. There were points in time where Jeff Hardy was in control, and then they gained full control, and then eventually went into them having their little one-on-one situation in there. And overall, I just thought that match was great. It was definitely the best match of the night in my mind. So yeah, overall, I didn't get that feel from I didn't get that good feel from the Genesis pay-per-view in general. The matches were fine, and like I said, they were completely fine, but you didn't get a lot of completion and finishing of storylines that typically you would want to see in pay-per-views in this situation, where especially when they don't have a pay-per-view for like another couple months at this point in time. You would like to see more completion so they can do a full new storyline going into the next pay-per-view. You just didn't really get that too much outside the world title situation in there. And overall, I would probably give the pay-per-view about a 7 out of 10 if I was giving it a true rating. It was good. It wasn't great. Like I said, we probably weren't going to see too many, like I said in my video beforehand, you probably weren't going to see too many of the changes that they're doing with the new pay-per-view schedule coming into effect until the actual Lockdown pay-per-view in March. So hopefully that's what we'll be seeing. We'll be seeing we'll be seeing a lot of completion of storylines at that pay-per-view, and of course the build-up that they will be doing on Impact Wrestling beforehand, and everything that they've got going there. So yeah, that's my review for TNA Genesis of 2013. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.